Okay. What's up, everyone? My name is Dewa, and this is the Dank Moms podcast and video. I'm sorry, I just blew smoke. And my name is Dewa, and I'm a comedian, and I'm a mom, and I'm a former latchkey kid, and a TV and movie lover. And right now, I am recapping and reviewing the last episode of True Detective Night Country, Season 4, Episode 5, called or entitled Number 5. I'm so excited. It's been a great week. I've committed to doing these every week. So here I am, and I'm about to post this thing. I'm not even going to, do a lot of edits, and hopefully we can do one take like Jay-Z. And yeah, so Happy New Year. It was Tibetan New Year and Lunar New Year on the 10th, and also Happy Valentine's Day. I am very tired. I had a very nice Valentine's Day, and I had two shows, and I'm exhausted from that. But at any rate, it was hella fun, and I was able to watch episode number 5 of Night Country on Friday, or we all were able to, because that was an early release this week because of the Super Bowl. And I am now divesting from football culture since I've been divorced, and I am no longer involved in football culture in any way. But I do still love the fashion, and I love a Super Bowl halftime show. If it's somebody that I like. Like, I ain't fucking with Coldplay like that. Is it Coldplay? No, not Coldplay. It was Coldplay, but I don't really fuck with Coldplay. I don't know why people are like, oh, if you like, okay, it's not people, it's just Jay-Z who's like, Coldplay's the shit. Coldplay is music. And I don't know why I said that. I only like the only Coldplay song I like. I don't if we're talking about Coldplay is Viva La Vida. I know it's corny, but I do love pop music, and I like Viva La Vida will get me going every time. Especially that one where the cover where it was the kids in the school. If you got kids singing a song, I love it. I automatically love most songs that has kids singing in it at all. Like, I guess Lil Durk has All My Life, like that one. And yes, there's other ones. I don't want to go into it right now because that's a whole nother podcast where I review songs that kids sing the chorus in, and songs that kids sing the chorus in that we have been canceled. I'm looking at you. Last name Kelly, first name Robert. Anyways, we can't sing those songs at school anymore. But back to Night Country. I'm just going to review it because it was such a jam-packed episode. It was the episode that we needed after all these details and facts and stories have been coming at us for the first 4 episodes. The 5th episode was the one where we get a lot of backstory and we get details. I have a completely new theory, so just wait, but I have a completely new theory, and I just added to it now while I was just sitting before this podcast and remembering some new theories that have developed over time for me now, even since the last episode of this. So that being said, what happens in this episode is it opens up on what happens. Oh, it opens up, and it is New Year's Eve. This whole episode takes place on New Year's Eve. There is a scene at the beginning where Hank is getting what do you call it? Kicked, not Hank, Peter Pryor. Pryor gets kicked out of his house. By Kayla. She said, "Don't come back. He ain't got nowhere to go." He goes to his dad's outside. He looks in the window, forlorn, wondering what to do. Then he overhears his dad sing this song that I heard from another podcast. Not even heard. I know that Peter Fox, the actor, or is it John Hawkes? Anyway, John Hawkes. We'll do a Jeopardy style. Just Hawkes. The actor Hawkes wrote that song. Issa Lopez, the director, told him to write the song or asked him to write the song, but he actually pushed back and said, "I don't think Hank would write a song. I don't think Hank would play a guitar. At least that's what the actor said. But Issa went back and was like, no, he's not gonna be like. Well, the reason why Hawk said that I didn't say was that he didn't think that the character of Hank would be an artist, because an artist by nature is sort of inquisitive and thoughtful and is like thinking about the things that inspire them to create music like that. There has to be more insight than we can believe that Hank has. So anyways, he's singing this really sad song about how love don't exist, and it's a very sad song. It's basically, yeah, it is the Chekhov's gun of the first act in this, because you know that this forlornness is gonna have to, or not forlornness, but this misery that he speaks of in the song is kind of like the weapon that needs to show up in the third act. If we're going by that Chekhov's gun theory that I mentioned in the first episode. But so then, and Pryor is outside with his bag, and he calls his dad, and he's like, the first thing was a lie, which is this whole episode, this whole series, I think, is going to be like, what stories do we accept as true, and what stories do we accept as fable, and where do those kind of or lies, I guess. What's truth and what is lies as far as the stories we tell ourselves and the stories that we accept from others. So on a small scale, interpersonal with the families, like what stories do we accept from our parents about our past, or or even stories that we accept from others, like Jodie Foster's character Liz. She does not want to accept a story that includes anything in the spirit realm. That's what I think her character does. But anyway, so then Pryor ends up asking his dad if he could stay with him, and his dad says yes. So he ends up staying with him. But in the course of that conversation, his dad lies about what he was doing, and because Peter's outside, and his dad was like, "Yeah, I'm just working on a car." Like generally, I don't really give a fuck. Like people say whatever for whatever reasons, but in the case of like in a movie, and when it's scripted and somebody says something that's a lie, the director is trying to convey possibly what is trying to convey what is going through Pryor's mind, as far as the first the more accepting the way that Pryor is accepting that his father is not who he thought. His father is not an upstanding man. He's not all that. All of it's coming together. He's a man that would hit his kids. He wouldn't accept that. Like for a child that has a person that has been abused, they want to believe that it's normal the way that they're being treated. But now that he's grown up, he basically grew up. When he got kicked out, he grew up by Kayla. He grew up. And he had to mature, and in that moment he realized that his dad was not trustworthy, in my opinion. So anyways, he ends up staying with his dad, and then we also find out that Liz, her case got shut down by her boss. They are saying that it was a event, a what do you call it, a weather event, and the men were not murdered, that they were frozen outside in a shock event. No explanation for why they were naked. No explanation for why their clothes. None of the clothes were missing. And actually, nobody really gives a shit that Clark is missing, because Clark's mom don't give a shit about him. So nobody gives a fuck. Clark is on the loose. I guess Lund died, and those other dudes were dead. So Lund is dead now, and all the other ones. So there's 7 dead, 1 on the loose from the Salal men and the Annie K. Also, so now Oscar is missing, and Otis is at the lighthouse, coming off of his heroin addiction, cleaning up from that. And Liz Danvers goes to Silver Sky Mines to meet with, I don't remember her name. It's either Kim or Karen. We'll call her Karen because that's how I'm going to frame it. And she was such a small part of like the first episode when they, or the second episode when they were looking for a place to find, she was the rink owner. Now, what I think a lot of other people are not getting is she is the rink owner, but she's also probably the CEO or the owner of the mines. Like, I think she is. She's the one running it, and I love the idea about this powerful woman. That character, I love the character of her. So that she basically makes the calls. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm fairly certain, but maybe I could be wrong, that Sherry, Leah, Liz's stepdaughter's girlfriend, is also the daughter of Karen or Kim. I'm not sure, but I think so. And then the little girl named Sherry, who will come up. So at the beginning, there's a protest, what seems to me a peaceful protest. They might be shouting, but that is our right, to protest, and everybody's protesting there against the mine. And then one thing leads to another, and the security guards are wiling out, and freaking what's his name, the state troopers come through and try to calm it down. Now Leah's there, everybody who's cool is there protesting, and Navarro is on the state troopers. She's a trooper, so she comes suited up to this event for crowd, like, I don't know, crowd control. But it soon gets really heated, and bottles start flying, and Leah gets hurt. She gets punched by a cop and thrown on the ground, and her head gets pulled. Sherry ditches her. And I don't want to say it's a race thing, because he could have been scared, but in the purposes of this, this show was to imply that, Sherry wasn't down. Sherry was not down. Sherry left her hanging. And I mean Leah. Leah getting beat up. She got kicked. Then she actually gets saved by Navarro. Navarro comes over and finds out another cop beating her ass, or another trooper, and then saves her and actually gets in a fight with the other trooper. And that's when you can kind of see her boxing come out too, Callie Reese's boxing, because she whoops his ass again. I'm here for any time I can see Navarro punch a cop in the face, because it's kind of dope. But the next thing we know is Leah gets called in. Her mom was going to have her arrested, and Connolly, Liz Danvers, at that meeting says that at the Silver Sky, which is weird. Silver Sky mine, like, Silver Sky, nobody wants a Silver Sky. That leads me to believe that I think that they may be mining silver there. And I believe, again, that the chemical pollutants that come with silver mining is mercury, which does cause a lot of problems with your mental function, among other things, if it's ingested. Like, people go crazy. And I think that's, there's a term, Mad Hatter. I think that comes from mercury ingested. Also, clockmakers and fixers or repairers, that lead in the watch, or the chemicals in the watches, that were high in mercury and other chemicals. So yeah, mercury will kill you and do some fucked up shit to your body. So I think that's what's going on as far as the pollutants. And Danvers has the information that Salal was in cahoots with Silver Sky Mine, because Silver Sky was paying them to report false pollutant numbers to probably EPA or something, and that connects them. So even though they have a what's the word I'm looking for? They have some skin in the game, so they should not be investing in the company that tests their soil. That is a conflict of interest. So basically, Connolly tells Liz, it's over, the case is over, you can go on, you're so lucky. And the actress that plays Kim, or Karen, from the Silver Skies, man, she's so good. She was like, oh, you're lucky, it's over. You don't have to do anything, blah, blah. And then Liz is so pissed because she does not want to close the case. And then she shows them what she has in her back pocket was proof that Salal was funded by Silver Sky and the conflict of interest. And Karen sees it and was like, I'll need to look into it, which is like total corporate speak for when somebody was caught off guard and they're trying to cover it up. But it's also fair to say I need to look into it. But in this case, we know she knows that the mine is polluting people. So it's called off, and Liz is heartbroken because she was going to go to the mines. She got Otis, and she was ready to go to the mines and find how to get in and possibly where Annie K was murdered, because now we know, whew, excuse me, that Otis knows how to get into those caves, and we know that there are caves, and that's likely where Annie K was when she filmed the last footage of her life in the iPhone. That was found in the RV, aka Love Shack, aka Clark's Love Shack to Annie K, which was bizarre. He's losing his mind, which could also be coming from the mercury as well. She's awake type shit. Um, what else? Oh, I'm gonna look at my, yeah, and so, oh yes, and then Connolly calls out Liz and says, "I know about the Wheeler case." And Liz and Navarro both thought nobody knew about the Wheeler case. And so that comes to play a lot in this episode. So the Wheeler case comes up, and you also see they kind of nicely shoehorn in watching Navarro after what happened in last episode, which is the last thing we see of Navarro is she's sitting in front of the Christmas tree with her ears bleeding. Now I think that was Christmas Day. This is 6 days later. We don't know what happened in those this episode does not really give an indication on what happened in those 6 days between Christmas and New Year's Eve, but something happened and she's back okay. Navarro, she's up in the last 5 or 6 days. She's it looks like she's been staying with Kavik at his house. They be spooning. She big spoons his ass, and he was trying to ask questions, and she just put her hand over his mouth and like a boss. And I was happy to see that. It looked like she had a little bit of intimacy, closeness, familiar binds that she needs, familial binds, because she doesn't really have anybody. Julia just passed. She doesn't have a mom. She doesn't really have anybody but Liz at this point, and Kavik. And so she's staying with him, and they show her kind of going about regular business. There's another scene in which she finds, you find her in a laundromat where, I don't know what her name, oh, Kayla. Kayla, Pryor's wife, is tending the laundromat because her mom is in Anchorage for some dental work. This is where I want to bring up something. This is the perfect place this is where I start to believe that, which is something that I have not brought up, was Sedna is a story. I don't know if it's a story. It could be true. It could be, I don't know how to explain. I guess it's a legend that comes from Inuit legend that is about a sea goddess that came from a girl that I don't know I can't recall the beginning of it, but it ultimately ends up that this future sea goddess was murdered by her father, and they cut off her fingers because she was grabbing onto the boat, and then he cuts them off, and it's said that those fingers resulted in, I think, different sea life. But in the Inuit culture, I think this is an important part. Oh gosh, people pay respect to Sedna. One of the ways they pay respect to Sedna is the facial tattoos. I believe it's supposed to each one of those the stripes is means something. I don't want to guess because I could just be guessing because I didn't write down the notes. But it is an homage. It is a offering, I believe, to Sedna and her powers. Now, also, when Sedna gets angry, she can also make it so humans can't eat by making the animals commit suicide, which I think is the connection to the caribou in the first episode, was showing the power of Sedna's, and she is pissed off. I think in one way you could say globally, Sedna would be pissed off about how humans are treating her earth, herself. And then also you could say for that town, because of the Silver Sky Mine pollution, she's freaking pissed off. So I noticed that a lot of the characters, the women characters, where they're more safe, are the characters that have the facial tattoo. The grandmother, other people in the town. And I noticed that the characters that have that tattoo are also able, or are like, Kayla's grandma has that tattoo. Kayla, when Navarro was going through a flashback, one of those scary flashbacks that she has, which I now think is associated with her schizophrenia, they are the ones that are able to make her stop and come back to it. When she's in the laundromat, she starts digging around in the laundry, in the washing machine, and she sees this long black hair, and she's like going for it, and she starts going into that trance, and then she's pulling it, and then Kayla comes over and is like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm okay." But I think there's a place where Navarro is just now starting to accept that she has something that's unexplainable. Part of it might be supernatural and her connection to her ancestors, but also part of it might also be a legit mental health condition, which would be schizophrenia, because she named off all those other conditions for her sister, and schizophrenia is a genetic. I believe it's like, yeah, it's genetic and inherited. So there's that part, and then also in the first scene at the protest at the mine, she Navarro also had a vision and saw someone there, but it wasn't a scary person. It was just looking right at her. I think it was Annie looking right at her, but I'm not positive, because I didn't get a good enough look at Annie to decide if the ghost that she saw or the person she saw was her. But she got out of it also when Leah the bottle on her head, so she kind of shook out of her schizophrenic trance. I don't know. I'm just calling it that. I don't know what a real episode is called, but that's in the meantime. Also, yeah. So the hair she cut. Oh, okay. More about Sedna. Also, one other point I like to leave. I'm not going to go too much because I could go really deep into it, but I did notice the more and more that Navarro gets closer to her spirituality and her ethnicity, her hair comes out. Like, generally, when she's like in a trooper uniform, whatever, her hair is tight. I'm talking about tight, either in a ponytail braid or a bun, and it's tight. You see her in this episode go from that to long, wild hair where she's more in control, more like in alignment with who she is, because you see her being split. Like, this is me, I'm a trooper, and that's it. And no, that's not it. There's more. So there's that part. What was I gonna say? So again, I want to reiterate that this is all on New Year's Eve. So Liz is pissed when she leaves the Silver Sky mine. She's shut down. She can't really do anything. And she just shut it down. She's not going to go get Otis. She's not going to do any of that. She's not going to have Otis show him where the mine is. And she decides to just call it off and pack it up. And Navarro comes in and was like, "Nah, we got to get on it. I have some ideas." Oh, sorry, I missed it. When she's in the laundromat, Kavik, helpfully comes in and tells Navarro that he found somebody who knows what that striped, what the symbol means, and the symbol in their culture means, at least is what the guy says, that fishermen leave out there on the ice to let people know the ice is thin, don't go, it's dangerous, go back, like don't go any further. So that was good. And I'm just thinking about Clark's ass appropriating that signal, just tagging it up everywhere. Like, ooh, I'm just gonna do this symbol everywhere. And like, dude, it's not for you. Why are you biting my tattoo? Like, I got my tattoo. Like, I'm just thinking Annie K is like, like, I'm Inuit. I'm of this culture. Who are you? And this dude's got one on his chest now. And then he goes and does his whole RV on it. It's like, kind of like, it's giving real colonizer vibes. Like, oh, I like that. And now I'm going to tag everything with that. And now it's fucking Anthony Clark, a.k.a. Swirly. It's not yours, dude. But But anyways, so we find out about that, and then so Navarro gets all hot and horny for going back and trying to find the Night Country, and so she runs into um, to Liz's office, and Liz just shuts her down and says, "Oh, no, we ain't doing this, and you got to get out of here. It's over." She's like, "It's over. It's over." They know about Wheeler, and fucking Navarro looks down. They know about Wheeler, and they don't know how he knows about Wheeler. That's the thing. They don't know how. And so Navarro goes out like hang dog. She doesn't. She's really upset, but I think also very determined to see it through. Another scene, Navarro was asking Rose Agana to help her dig a hole in the ice so that she could put her sister's ashes in there. That is how this episode started. It was so depressing. I had to have my father cremated. They asked me if I wanted to see it happen. I was like, I'm kind of cool. I don't need to see that. I did not want to see that. And so I passed, but and my dad passed. I'm sorry. I passed on the watching him be cremated, but Navarro did not pass. Navarro was there, and she got it, and it was just. I mean, that's a very different experience. Maybe they give those fancy urns out right there, but generally they don't give you the fancy urn if you're just gonna pour it out. You wouldn't need it, but anyways, so she gets her ashes, and Rose helps her pour it into the ocean because you have to crack through the ice. And that was one thing they do such a beautiful job of showing how the people you cut through the ice and that it happens. There's a lot of kicking it on the ice. It gets thin in certain places. Like, how do you even know? I wonder if there's what markers are there to know where the ocean starts, or where it's like supposed to be shore and then ocean, but it's all frozen over for a period of time. But anyways, it is precarious. And while she's doing that, she gets the call from the darkness that goes, Evangeline, and then she goes into that trance. Another side note I want to mention about Navarro is there's no part in which people call her first name the same thing. I heard Kavik call her G, which is interesting because I have a friend named Angie, and I always call her, like in my head I call her G because I called her G when we were growing up, and I was thinking Evangeline. Oh, that's like the same thing, G. And Kavik calls her G, and someone else calls her, I think they call her Eve, and someone else calls her something else. There's like several different first names that she uses, and I think it lends to the story that no one really knows her. They don't even know her name. You don't know my name. Thinking about Alicia Keys after the Super Bowl. Anyway, so I see her Navarro getting used to her condition, and then we find out so easy because fucking Hank is tailing her. Hank is tailing Liz to try to find out where Otis is. Ooh, I forgot this. Because Karen from the mine, this is the big spoiler, Karen tells Hank that she wants him to kill Otis. And not in those words. And then when Hank says, I ain't no murderer, she was like, I didn't ask you to kill anyone. I just asked you to make him go away or whatever, right? And then you find out that Karen was behind everything, and we find out that she had paid him to move Annie Kay's body from the cave, and paid him a hefty sum because he was supposed to become captain, but Danvers became captain. And Karen pretended like she had no say that Liz became the captain. Maybe her and Connolly, maybe Karen and Connolly are having an affair. I don't know. But at any rate, in lieu of the captain job, Karen gave him a substantial amount of money, him being Hank. She gave him a bunch of money. And he whispers, that money long gone. Because she keeps on saying, you were paid handsomely. And he goes, that money's long gone. And then it dawned on me, oh, he's talking about he gave it all to Ivanka, the Russian bride, mail order bride that didn't come. Like, he is so delusional. You think some beautiful this is the whole mail order bride is inhumane and in my opinion should be stopped, but you do what you do, I guess. People, it's a whole system, but anytime people oppress people cannot make cannot make decisions like that. We can't. I mean, like, I shouldn't say cannot, but I should say more like, if you're in a position of power, you should not be able to shop for humans like a freaking website. But you can. You can do that right now. It's really fucked up. I won't go too off topic into my thoughts on that. But I was thinking he might gave her hella money. And he's over there painting his own damn house for her, blue. And he don't even know what shade of blue she likes. And it's hella funny. She goes, I like blue. Like, who says that? What kind of conversations are they really having? Yeah. So anyways, Hank, we find out that Hank is the snitch, and he thought he was slick, and he's tailing Liz. Liz goes to a funeral home where she finds out that she learned this from Leah initially, that there have been 9 stillbirths in the last 3 months, and there were 9 tiny little wood coffins, and it was so sad. And the reason why they were there was because the ground is too frozen to dig in, so they have to keep them in this cold shack until it becomes till the ground thaws. And that was a really moving scene. So then Liz goes he's following Liz back to her house. Does he follow Liz back to her? No, he follows her back to the station. And then when he follows her back to the station, he's like tailing her so close. And she's like, what the fuck, dude? And then she's like walking, and then she turns around and looks at him and goes, Did you talk to Connolly? And then he don't say shit, just his whole face gives it away. And then what's his name? Then Liz goes down and goes around the corner and says, Pryor, meet me in my office. So then she finds out, she put it together that Hank, because his son is staying with him, Hank logged into his son's computer and found all the files and whatnot that he was looking at. One of those was Wheeler's file, and he found out about Wheeler. So Hank found out about Wheeler through Pryor by logging into his computer, because his motherfucking password was his kid's birthday. I mean, it's literally everybody's password. When you're a cop, that can't be your password. Like, maybe if you just kicking it at home and you're a stay-at-home mom, ain't nobody hacking into your thing. Yeah, you can have your kid's birthday as your password. I don't recommend it, but yeah, there we go. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's like some like internet 1.0 shit. But at any rate, Liz questions Peter and was like, what the fuck, dude? And Peter opens it up, sees what he was looking at, finds out that Liz now knows that he was looking into the Wheeler case. And so Liz just keeps on interrogating him. Ask me. You got questions? Ask me. You got questions? Ask me. And said, basically, he finds out through his own detective work, beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion, or at least casts a reasonable doubt. No? Casts a doubt that that it was a murder-suicide. It was actually she killed him. Or Liz or Navarro killed him. We find out he was left-handed. All the pictures were switched to make it look like he was right-handed because they shot him in the right side of his head, which would be unexplainable if he was left-handed, because he was. So they had to make it look like he was right-handed. And the tell was the woman that he abused till she died had a birthmark on her left side of her face, but all the pictures had been switched over, so it was on the right side of her face. So we all know that that the pictures had been flipped. And that's all they did. They flipped the pictures and lost the rest of the files. So now it was pretty obvious that the pictures had been flipped. So that's how Hank found out. Peter questioned Liz, and after he came up with his final question, which is, did you make it look like a murder suicide? And Liz closes the computer, and she goes, see, that's your problem. You need to know when to stop asking questions. And I guess that's like her also passing down the pain of her getting shat on by her boss. But now we know in that scene, as a moviegoer, I don't know, as a television watcher, as an audience member, critically thinking about this, we know that Pete is the future. Hank was the past. Liz is now. Pete is the future. He's showing his detective stripes, and he's showing his skills on his boss. His boss knows now, and we're moving forward. Now, also, Pryor is kicked out of his house. He's at work, and he so Liz tells him that he can stay. He can't stay at his dad's house, but he can. And then he said, She said, you can stay at mine. And he was like, my dad wouldn't like that. That would be awful. And his wife. No, he said his wife wouldn't like that. That would be the worst thing. He said, might as well get divorced now. So she gave him a key to the shed. Whatever. So he's in the shed. I mean, it's literally a shed. He goes, like, no one can live in there. It's like negative something. There's no heat. I don't know where he did. He got his clothes clean. He looked like he took a shower. Later on, you find out. But anyways, so at that point, we have what we need. And Liz, seeing what happened, she has a complete change of heart about going into the ice caves. She wants to go to the ice caves now because she knows that there is some kind of conspiracy now, that Connolly knows about Wheeler, Hank knows about Wheeler. What are they trying to hide about Annie Kay? Why is all this being done? So she wants to go. She's back in. She's revived again. She's going to get Otis. She steals some heroin from the supply closet? No, not supply. The evidence locker. We just got a bag full of heroin in the supply closet. I don't know if you guys ever worked at like the office where they have like a supply closet, and sometimes they got all kinds of different stuff. Like one of my works, they had like, they got pens and all the regular stuff, but sometimes they got other weird shit like maybe some heroin. Also, there's some question over whether Rose Agonaw is even a real person, or is she a figment of Navarro's imagination? Because we don't think that anybody ever seen her besides Navarro. So I don't know. I'm questioning, like, also, like, at the very first scene that we see Rose, she's gutting a wolf. I'm not sure if people eat wolf. Why was she gutting a wolf? Is that what we eat now? I didn't know we eat wolf. Or is she using the fur? Or was it wolf skin? I think that's the thing, right? I wasn't sure about that. So she does look like she knows how to butcher animals as well. And she doesn't really have a backstory. So, I don't know. So it all comes down to this. I want to sum this up and get this out so I won't take too much longer. It all comes down to this final scene in this penultimate episode of True Detective at Liz's house. She grabs Otis, says you can't be doing heroin in her car, so she takes him to her house. She's comfortable in her house. She takes her phone off. She puts her gun on the counter, gives him the heroin, but first, before she gives him the heroin, she asks him to point out where on the map they can get into the ice caves. And you can get to the ice caves at the highest point of the caves, and to the land, so it comes close to the ground, to the top, and so you could break the ice right there and get in. And he tells her exactly how to do it and where to go on a map, so she knows. And then he just scurries off into the bathroom to freebase some heroin. I don't know. She gave him some tinfoil, a lighter. I don't know what else she gave him. Maybe, and the heroin. And she said, "Don't make a mess and clean up after yourself." And so he goes in there and does it. In the meantime, motherfucking Hank comes in. Hank comes in, just walks in, because apparently in Alaska you leave your doors open. I don't want to. They leave their doors unlocked. A lot of places leave their doors unlocked, but in Alaska they do it in part, I guess, because polar bears. I guess polar bears could get in the house, and you need to be able to run the fuck out and then slam the door, I guess. So it's always unlocked. Hank comes in and he's like, "Oh, I was asked by Connolly to pick up Otis." And Liz was like, "What the fuck are you doing in my house to pick up Otis?" You know? And he was like, "Connolly told me to." And she's like, "Well, great. Let me call Connolly." And when she reaches for the gun, reaches for her phone, he fucking grabs it and he slides it across, and he grabs her gun too, I think. And then she's like, "What?" And he was like, "No, you don't gotta call nobody. I'm taking him." And she's like, "What the hell?" Because she was like, "How'd you know he was here?" And he goes, "Oh, he's here?" Like in the house. She said here, like as if he was in the house, not somewhere else. And so fucking Otis is there, and she's like, "You gotta go, you gotta go." And Otis is in there, and Otis walks out. And he's like, "Oh, what's going on? I'm high." You know, like he's probably feeling a lot real good. And he's like, "Ah." And then he starts going towards the door, which we know he does. He loves to scramble. And so then he tries to go for the door, and motherfucking Hank shoots him. He wasn't dead, but he gets shot, and he's down, face down, and he's kind of like, "Ah." And Liz is like, don't kill him. You don't have to do this, please. Da da da. All this stuff to Hank, and Hank is like, "Man, I ain't got nothing to live for. You tripping? We know about Wheeler. I'm about to kill this motherfucker." And the next thing you know, Pryor comes in, and he's wearing his after work apparel. He's got his gun pulled. He's walking in, and he said, "What's going on here?" And he's got his gun pulled, everything. He's coming through. And then he sees what's happening, and his dad and Liz is like talking to him, like really saying, "Think, Pryor, think." Because his dad is like, "Come on, let's get this body out of here. Let's do something." Oh yeah, because then Hank shot the dude for real and killed him two times before his son got there. And so now they're sitting there, and it's like, who's going to handle this? Is Liz going to help? No, Liz is not going to help Hank dispose of the body, but Peter might. And so he's just sitting there trying to make a decision between Liz and his dad. At least that's how his dad sees it. And he could tell that he might be, that Hank might be, excuse me, Peter might be leaning towards Liz. And in the last moments before Pryor is trying to make the decision on what to do, his dad looks at him and is like, blood is blood. He's like, I was like, whatever, blood is blood. Sure. What does that mean even in this circumstance? Are you saying like I should help you dispose of a body that you're trying to steal from my boss? But anyways, and so then he was like, and then he admits it. You can kind of tell it's almost like he wants to be killed because he has nothing to live for, because his son don't love him. He don't know his grandkids. Arena isn't real. He probably feels like such a deep failure and like a fucking dum-dum because he lives on ego alone. And like, he's like, I got nothing to live for. And the actor does say this. I didn't notice this when I saw it, but the actor does say in an interview that his finger doesn't even really isn't. If you look close, his finger's not on the trigger. He pulls it up in an effort to look like he's going to kill Liz. And in that moment, Peter Pryor says no, and he shoots his dad in the head, dead, and his brains and everything is all over the wall, and now he's dead. Pete drops the gun, curls up into the fetal, and Jodie Foster's character goes over and cuddles him, like completely cuddles him in a, like a cuddly position. Looks like a mom. He was in the fetal position. It looks like, yeah, it looks like two people huddling. I've seen statues like that. And then it zooms out, and then you zoom back into the scene, out to Navarro. Navarro is getting stuff together to meet Liz at her house. And so then Navarro comes in and sees what's going on. And Liz is so freaked out that she thinks that she's going to call Connolly and say everything. And then Navarro has to talk her out of it and say, no, 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 no. They sent Hank Pryor to kill us because we're close. We gotta go. But there's blood and shit everywhere. And so the only person that can clean it is Pete. So Pete is left behind to clean up the body of his father that he just murdered by shooting him in the head, and then clean up the body of Otis Heiss that his father killed, and let those two go. There, he's at his boss's house, and he has to dispose of the bodies. The way that he's going to do it, as he's been directed by Navarro, is to say, take him to Rose Agonaugh, who it seems like Pete knows, so maybe she's not a ghost. But then she says, take these people to Julia. That's what she said. Take them to where Julia is. And we all know what that means. Put them in the ocean, under the ice. Like, I don't know what will happen, though, when the ice thaws. Does it ever thaw? Are all these bodies going to just start popping up? Ugh. Under there. Because they could possibly get preserved under there. So that's where it ends. They're driving out to the mines. They're jumping in the mines. Like the scenes from the next episode, I see Navarro jumping into the mine through a hole. I saw Peter Pryor, looks like he's asking Leah for help in what looks to be the foyer of the Danvers household. So maybe Leah walks in on it too. So this is just crazy. Now there's dead bodies. Everybody's involved. And it looks like, so it's going to be quite an episode. I'm not sure where they're going to go. There's a couple drownings, and I don't think that Liz is going to make it. I think Liz is going to die. I think Navarro is going to live, and they're going to get to the bottom of everything. Because I just realized, since Hank was the first on the scene at the Salal, it is... and then right before he dies, he said, I didn't kill Annie. I just moved the body. That was another confession, he said. So he made that confession. So we know now that he moved the body for sure. Everybody knows. We knew that before because Karen said it, but Karen, in that conversation with Karen, but now everybody in the story knows that he actually had something to do with it. In my mind, he's a liar. He killed her and whatever else, I don't know. So then so then the next episode is probably going to sew it all up, but I probably going to find out that Clark killed the men. I think Clark did something to them. It's not supernatural what happened to them. I don't think none of it is quote unquote supernatural as far as the reason why people died, but there were other things. Like I think Clark just went wild with the whole swirly thing, but that being said, so that's my take on this episode. I don't have a lot of like other things to say. I'm so tired and I wish I had more, but I know I'm going to have a lot for the next and final 6 episode that comes out on Sunday this week. And yeah, I think it's all in all, I think this season, it's actually, I just read that it has surpassed season 1 as far as viewership. It is interesting as hell. No, it's not 2 white men on a case. It's a different thing altogether. We don't need the same thing. We need something different. We need to expand on a design, improve on a design, not reiterate it. I think this is a strong example of how we can use women and women-centered films and television, and it's interesting. It is not one-dimensional. This series passes the Bechdel test and probably any other test of that nature, because these are fully fleshed out individual people. They are not tropes. I mean, there's tropes of cops or blah, 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 but as women and women in all positions, because we inhabit all positions. Women own minds. We run most of this shit any damn way. So let's get the camera time to go with it. So Issa Lopez, she's dope. And I found out that she does do horror films. That is her genre. So that was dope. And it's good to know that that's where all these jump scares and that type of thing is coming from, which I appreciate now. At first I was kind of weird. It is a little bit out of left field, but that's what I like. I like irreverency and I like awkwardness. And I feel like I kind of look like I belong in Ennis. I got my Carhartt beanie. You know, get rid of the mine, land back. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm Dewa Dorje. Follow me on Instagram at Dewa Dorje, DewaDorje, or subscribe to my videos, my YouTube channel. Listen to my podcast called Dank Moms, where I usually talk about funny shit. I just decided to talk about TV and movies because I also love it. So True Detective, Night Country is on Sunday, and I guess we'll talk about it Sunday, whatever that day is. I don't know what day it is, but it's not going to be every Sunday. It's going to be this Sunday. But let me know what you think in the comments. Somebody wrote to me, and I really like that. And I am talking back and forth about the True Detective season because I love to hear what other people's opinions are. This was a heavy episode. It explained a lot. There's a lot of dialogue, not a lot. I mean, and also action. But I'm so excited. Thanks for watching or listening. Bye.